Hello, everyone. This is Hava from Hava Wellness, and today I'm excited to share my dear friend Sara, herbalist, and we're gonna speak about herbs, and we're gonna speak about heart health, and we're gonna speak about how empower you to take care of yourself. This is so incredible topic, and okay, so let me share this beautiful podcast with Sara. Let me invite her. Sara, she is an herbalist. Me and Sara have been doing together, and almost the whole entire year we spoke about different organs, different ways to treat. We speak about herbs and different combinations and how you can help yourself in time of need if you have a digestive issues, if you have a headache, if you have a skin problems. And this is a very amazing because this topic is so essential and I feel like this is what needed in every home. Hello, my love.
Hello. How are you?
Very good. I was just saying that I'm sharing the podcast with you, with my dear friend Sara. Our podcast, how we call this podcast? I forgot the name.
Heal yourself naturally?
Heal yourself naturally, but where they can find us?
Spotify.
On Spotify, exactly.
Yes. And we also have a Facebook page.
But I forgot. Okay, Spotify.
Yeah. We also have a Facebook page too.
And we do have a Facebook page, right?
Yeah. So is this going live on Facebook too? Because I'm connected?
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, no.
I've never done this before, but maybe. I have no idea.
Okay.
But today we're speaking all about the heart, so I'm very excited. I think it's a very important topic because so many people die from heart issues. And I feel this is one of the very important topics because it can save someone's life. And someone from our listeners can save themselves or someone's life.
Right.
I think this is how important this topic is, and hopefully it will really enter into the people's heart, and they will implement everything what we're trying to teach. And also, so that's it. Keep your hearts and minds open to receive.
That's right. And we've talked about the heart before, so there's so much that we can talk about in regards to the heart. And any of the archived podcasts, or you can find on Spotify, on YouTube too, my YouTube channel, Sacred Tree Herbals. I've kind of put them all over there as well. But, you can see all the other interesting things that we've discussed around the heart in one of the other podcasts. But like I said, there's so much about the heart that we could go into. And because it is the leading cause of death in this country, it's an important topic, and prevention is key. So knowing what we need to do to keep that organ, that very important organ, healthy, is just priceless information. So I'm glad we're doing it again.
I know, right?
As we journey down the body, right? Yes.
So maybe we should just speak first of all what understanding the heart and what is the basics of the heart, please.
Okay. Well, the heart is the organ that pumps the blood. If people don't know that, I can't help you. Not too much about the physiology, but it is a really important organ. Yes, it does pump the blood. And it is a major circulatory organ, and we need the blood all over our bodies to give our cells nutrition and to feed every part of our body, every cell, every other organ. So it has a really, really important job. It sits clearly just to the left of the center of your chest. And many men suffer from heart issues and heart attacks. That's one of the main I personally think the main things that men suffer from is a heart issues.
Women also. It's actually
women too. Women are right up there. Yes, right. So that's like basic physiology of the heart. I mean, I don't know what else you want to point out there. We can just kind of go into, yeah.
Very important to understand that the heart is really circulatory organ, and the issue is that when you have any sort of a stagnation, that will affect your heart.
Right.
That's why they usually in the Chinese medicine, many other areas, they call the heart as a king,
The heart is king.
and the heart is the king, and the heart is very important, and that's why the issue is that many people don't understand that why we see so many people are dying from heart problems is because there is a slowly build up of toxicity. And when the body cannot longer hold it, and when body can no longer provide nourishment, and then the heart just goes off. And that's very important to understand that this disease is builds up slowly in the system. It's not just the person suddenly fainted up and died because he had a heart attack. There was a signs prior.
Yes.
Please listen. And let's say even you have a cold hand and feet, that already a symptom that there is something wrong with your heart. And you might say, yeah, it has nothing to do. It's my thyroid, it's my this, my that. No, it's by the end, it comes to the heart. So that's very important to understand. And all circulation depends on the heart. And once the heart goes, the person goes. So that's the very important topic, and I want people to really understand this. And once they will understand that almost every symptom it reflects their heart, the heart condition, then they will take care of themselves. That's why okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, and just to get a little more specific too, I mean, you mentioned toxicity, which is obvious, right? I mean, we live in a toxic world, and that can impede our body in many different ways. And we want to talk about heart attacks and why people tend to suffer from heart attacks. And it's typically caused by blockages in the arteries around the heart. So when you go to your if you don't have a cardiologist, your PCP will refer you to one if you have like chest pains and things like that, which, chest pains don't always mean you have heart issues too. I just want to say that, not to scare people. Sometimes it's indigestion, but your cardiologist will look at the arteries around the heart, and if they're blocked, and usually they're blocked with fat. It can also be calcified. So they're checking, if they're really good at their job, you'll do a test. They're going to check whether or not you have blockages. But in the blood test, if you want to stay up to date with the status of your blood, and if your risk for heart attack is high, there are several factors that you can have tested, okay? And I'm noticing a lot of the doctors will miss some very basic things that could keep people from having heart attacks. And a typical one is, the cholesterol levels. So we know that cholesterol, or high cholesterol, is not necessarily increasing your risk of heart attack. Okay, that's not
the way they say.
It's just like the fat in your blood is supposed to be there. There's one type of fat that is something you want to watch out for, is the oxidized LDL, which is not often a test that they run. They'll run an HDL, an LDL, a total cholesterol, and triglycerides. And your triglycerides, if you're high triglycerides, that can be a risk factor for heart attack, but also your oxidized LDL. So I would have people just talk to their doctors and say, please do this test, because that's the unstable fat that can start to gather. Your body basically shoves it in the vessel walls, and you can have hardening of the arteries, and then you can get a heart attack. So oxidized LDL is one thing that is often missed. Also fibrinogen, because that's going to tell you if your blood clots easy. You want to get a calcium score as you age. The arteries start to calcify, so you want to know what your calcium score is. And there's several others. I won't get too much into it, but those are like the basic ones that I oftentimes don't see. And the other one that's very important is your CRP, which is your inflammation rate, and there's something called a cardiac CRP. So if you have inflammation, you have high blood sugar and high insulin and high triglycerides, that's what I call the modern disease trifecta. Those are the things you want to watch out for increased risk of heart attack, not just your total cholesterol, not just, your lipid count, because that doesn't really tell us what's really going on. So I just want to point
No,
that out to
important.
get the clinical aspect into this, right? Yeah.
It's very good. I love that you're saying, because I'm a little bit more, I would say my vision is a little bit like I would say maybe too much for the simple people, because I don't really trust none of those, and none of those tests. And I truly want people to connect to themselves, and I try to keep away from tests. But what you're saying, it's very important, because for some people, my way of thinking is too much. It's like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I see, and it's very important. That's why what we're doing, me and you together, it's very important, because I bring a certain aspect, and you bring a certain.
Yes.
In a combination of both will bring healing to the people. And
Absolutely.
that, say, is the first symptoms, just without even doing any test, just pressing your hands and just seeing how you feel. If you're walking up the stairs and you are out of breath, if you're just jumping, or if you just have headaches, often headaches, if you're not moving your bowels every single day, a few times a day, I would say. See, all this for me is already saying, hello, there is a stagnation, beware, there will be a problem with your heart. So for me, I would just say, just look at those symptoms, because every day the body speaks with us, and many people are avoiding those symptoms because they think this is a part of life. And I want to teach people to really get in touch with themselves, listen to their inner voice, and as more they're honest with themselves, so they will see right away that it will affect anything that they do, will affect their heart. So
Right.
that's how I look at that. And it's very important to say that, yes, it's all about when you do everything so beautifully that you mentioned about the cholesterol, this is the bad fats and all the stuff. They are what they're saying. This is a calcification, toxicity. There's a blockages. And I always say the heart is a river of life. And I mean, no, blood is a river of life that's flowing toward the heart. And then the heart is actually, it's like people think the heart is like just a pump. It's in reality, it's not a pump. It's more like moving, like a famous doctor once said,
A water wheel.
doctor, but a famous he was I forgot his name, but I forgot his name, but he actually speaks about the water, the way the water is moving.
Hmm.
And the same way is the heart is moving. So it's not a real pump, but it's actually moving like this in a spiral way. So, and when there is a blockage, then the river is no longer flowing, and then it actually stops the flow of the river. So that's the same thing. If I will remember, I'll mention it in the down there, because people can read down in the comments, because this is a very interesting phenomenon that happens, and it's so really connected to what's happening with us. When I say river, it's exactly how the river in nature flows. And it's very, very, I think, important to understand that when there is a blockages, when right away you see that you cannot fold even your finger, or you wake up in the morning, you feel stiffness, that already affects your heart. So then it's simply okay.
Yeah, and I think it might be, if I may, just to, if we're on to like symptoms and because I do a lot with like reading the body and looking at a person and seeing what possibly could be imbalanced inside them. And so when we look at the face, we're doing like Chinese diagnostics, and when we look at the face, the heart is the nose, and it's this area right here. And so we oftentimes, I will see it, and I always say, like, once you learn these basic diagnostic tricks, you never look at a person the same way. You're always like, what's going on in there?
What's happening there?
Yes. But so I will see purple noses a lot. And that's basically stagnation of blood in and around the heart. So there's some strain there already if we see purple on the nose, or if there's discoloration. So, and especially so the rosacea of the nose, you can tell. And that to me is also heavy alcohol use, like
Yeah.
brown alcohol, not necessarily beer, but that can really affect the heart. And we know alcohol causes a lot of inflammation in the vessels, so in the arteries too. So we have to be mindful of the alcohol we drink, but we can see it in the nose. And like you had mentioned, you know, if you feel stiff, so the color around blood stagnation is oftentimes, it can be purple. So, and I'll see this too, especially if the kidneys are are part of the heart, you know, because there's always that congestive heart issue, and it's the kidneys aren't able to get rid of the fluids. So you'll see like edema around the ankles, you'll see swelling around the ankles, it can be in the extremities. So just you bringing that up was a good point, you know, because you can see in your body the changes that might be going, you know, you can see on the outside of your body the changes that might be going on in the inside of your body. Another color is red, because red will depict inflammation. And when we have heart issues, it's typically caused, it will, you know, in my experience, caused by inflammation. You know, AFib, high blood pressure, a lot of this is inflammation, people. And you'll look up high blood pressure and say, well, you know, what causes high blood pressure? And the, you know, out there in the ethers will say, well, we really don't know what causes high blood pressure, but we really do. You know, it's inflammation, and that can be caused by lots of different things. So red, purple, look at your face. How do you feel? And like you said, is there shortness of breath? You know, without someone having asthma or some other kind of lung issue. And so, yeah, these are kind of the important things to look out for.
Yeah, I think this is very, very important, and to mention that, and I absolutely love it. And what I wanted to say is the Schomburger and Schomburger, and
So
what
what?
we talked about the vortex. We speak
Oh, the vortex.
is like similar to the vortex. That's what I wanted to say.
Gotcha. Yes.
But overall, yes, what you mean, it's so important. And the color, everything. And that's what I'm trying to say. You know, many people, they don't want to read their bodies, they just want to read the tests. And
Yes.
that when you
Yep.
read the test, there might be so already too late. We want to prevent this. So even simple things, as just you mentioned and I mentioned, this is already a very important thing. That already tells you, hello, there is some sort of a stagnation there. You don't really need a test if you cannot hold your hand. Well, buildup of arthritis, let's say. What is this? It's a calcification. Why does it go? Well, because it becomes a toxic material building up. So if you think that it does not reflect your heart, obviously it will. Now the same thing comes to the toes. The toes are our roots, and most people have problems with their toes. In the shoes they wear all day long, there is not enough heart. The roots are not breathing. If the roots are not breathing, we feel tight enough. We feel tight enough, the heart, it begins an issue. The first thing we can also say, if the people cannot bend, you know, just do this sit-ups, let's say. They have, after 10, 15 times, they're already out of breath. That already shows you there is a problem. If you cannot do a regular sit-ups and without catching like an extra air, that's already a problem. And then we can also say overdoing it, and that's also an issue. Like people who are very so committed to do exercise, you know, they're so committed to do, and they're doing too much. That can also cause a problem, because that's also weakens the heart. So we kind of have to bring it to the center. So that's what best way to do it is to listening to yourself. Because many times, let's say you go to the gym and you're working because I want to do the muscles, and because you look at to someone and you want to be like them, but are you like them? Are you in the same shape like them? Are you the same person or have the same structure in your life? Are you very stressed, or you're a businessman who's, you know, going through and who have a lot of workers, and the next day you maybe need to fire a few of those, and then you go to gym? That's actually a perfect combination to stress your heart. So that's I want people to understand, everyone, we all have this issue. That's why it's number one killer, is because we all have those symptoms and we are not listening to our inner voice. And we kind of trying to, oh, my doctor, oh, my this. Oh, no, it's you yourself. Know yourself. Learn about yourself. Okay.
Right.
Now, I also wanted to speak how God exactly connected to our heart, because many people don't understand that the heart, again, is the blood. It's a river of life. But if the river is dirty, what's going to happen? So would you want to speak a little bit about that, and then I will add some.
Speak about
Gut,
the gut. Yeah. Okay. Well,
into our heart.
well, we are what we eat. I mean, if we think about, let's see, how could we? All right. So we obviously want to put good foods in our bodies that, and in relation to the risk factors of heart issues, is like I said, was inflammation. So if we're putting foods in our body that cause inflammation, well, that's not, that's obviously one way to get to heart issues pretty quickly, is to eat like crap. I don't know of any specific bacteria that might be associated with the heart issues, but I can just say, if your gut's not working properly, if you have reduced stomach acid, if you're eating too much sugar, if you're eating inflammatory foods that are like fried foods, that they're terrible, they're really terrible for you. If you're just eating a lot of sugar and junk, and that's just going to raise your inflammation rate, and it's going to make your heart work harder, because it's going to pump all this blood that your liver is going to take care of all the stuff that's in your blood, right? So your heart's exposed to all this disgusting blood that your liver has to try to keep up to detoxify. That can really cause a lot of inflammation as well. So I guess that could be the corollary there. You want to keep your gut with adequate stomach acid, and many people suffer from low stomach acid. They're on all these proton pump inhibitors and antacids that reduce your body's ability to absorb the nutrients from your food. That causes a lot of inflammation, not properly digested food that goes through the gut. Constipation is terrible. Again, we're here with the toxin load. And when you're constipated, all those toxins go right back into the blood and can cause lots of inflammation again. And so, and I guess the correlation with gut bacteria, because your gut bacteria will, if you have a good diverse microbiome, it's less likely. But there are some pathogenic bacteria that are what's considered a commensal, so it kind of lives in the gut already. And if it can get overgrown, they can actually it can make the liver's job worse, because it's going to there's like a flagging system kind of that the liver has. If it can't take care of a toxin, then it will kind of flag it to take care of it later when it comes back through the liver. But some pathogenic bacteria will mess up those little tags, I'm going to say. They'll either take the tags off. It's just the easier way to explain it. That's not really what happens. And so the liver has to work harder. Again, we're back to inflammation. So, we are what we eat. Just about every disease starts in the gut, right? We know how important that is. And it really does come down to inflammation. I mean, that's how I can say it. Right. What about you, Hava?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you that we are what we eat, and I would say we are what we eat. We are with what we surround, and we are with what we apply on our skin. So I usually apply these like 3 different toxic basics that are very crucial for everyone to understand. And yes, God is so important, because your behavior can already tell you. If you are too stressed, then it puts pressure on your gut. If you're eating certain food, like what you said, it makes sense. Like if people eat toxic food, and then they're going to feel toxic, and this toxicity will end up somewhere, and then it will end up blockages, and then it will cause a heart issue. So that's why it's very important to understand where you are standing at, and trying really to unload all this toxicity internally, externally, so that way people can really truly heal. And it's very important. That's why the beauty is, right, is speaking about heal yourself naturally. It's because we're looking naturally at the whole entire system. We're not just dividing one organ, because we cannot just cut one organ and say this is and only this. It's not possible. We're all connected emotionally. So that's the beauty of it. How
Yeah.
And it again comes to really learning about yourself. This is the hardest job that I've ever experienced, like really being honest with yourself. No, oh, I had this crappy food. Okay, so at least I know. And when you know, then the next time you're going to have a much smarter decisions. You're going to
Yeah.
be more smart. You will be more aware of the situation, and that's what we want. We want people to be aware why they have this issue, why they have a stomach problem. Oh, because this and that. And through all that, you will be able to heal your heart. Now, let's speak also about, well, you're an herbalist. Well, we are, but you are a clinical herbalist. I was thinking, Sarah, maybe we should speak a little bit about some heart herbs that can help us, that can also help us, to heal our heart, or in times of, when there is a problem, or till people learn what we're talking about, and they need to have some tools. What the herbs that you would suggest them to take? And
there's so many wonderful. Yeah. There's so many wonderful tools. And where do I start?
I love you. You're so
because I don't want to take them all, Anya. I want to save some for you. Well, the first one I think of is hawthorn, right?
Right.
Hawthorn for the heart. Hawthorn is a tree, Crataegus. And there's many different species we use for making teas and extracts and encapsulations. I would say hawthorn is one that I use so often in the apothecary. And it's not only just for, like, specifically for heart issues. I use it as a circulatory tonic because it helps all the other herbs get to where they need to be in a formulation. So it's wonderful as a circulatory tonic. The hawthorn leaf, flower, and berry is what we use. And it's very nutritive, and it's very gentle. So if you really wanted to use hawthorn clinically, you'd want to make it pretty strong. That's a conversation for a different time, but it is wonderful in blends for the heart. So hawthorn is number one. I use it for hypertension. It's helpful for reducing inflammation. So I would definitely be using it for people with type 2 diabetes as well, because they have so much inflammation going on.
Right.
And so hawthorn's probably number one.
But tell them how often to use it. Let's say,
Oh, okay. You want to get specific?
in syrup, they can make their own jelly, I know, but let's say if they want to take it as an herbal supplement, what they should do then?
Okay.
Can take. It's
so if I were to do the dosing, I have no idea what the milligrams are. I mean, if you look on a typical bottle encapsulated hawthorn, it's probably 500 milligrams, 3 to 7 times a day or whatever it is. What I do is I make tinctures or teas, and let's start with a tea. I put a good, couple tablespoons to make a quart of tea. It might be herbs in there, like, say, if I'm just going to do it for a typical, like, just a tonic for the heart. Say if someone's, got a lot of heart disease in their family, and they just want to prevent, the inflammation and all that jazz. I would be doing like things like hawthorn. I would be doing linden, and get a nice little blend of like 5 herbs in there for them. Get a quart-sized jar, 2 fat tablespoons of herb tea in there, fill it up, drink at least a quart a day. So that's 4 cups a day. If you were to do an extract, a typical extract, Its potency is what we in herbalism, when we make tinctures, we're using herb to alcohol ratios. And I usually do a 1 to 5 for a typical tincture. For hawthorn, I'd probably do something more like a 1 to 2. And then I would be dosing, 1 to 3 teaspoons a day, depending on what the problem is. That's why dosing is hard in general, because, you're dosing for the person, the issue, and the potency of the medicine. And
Right.
so, and that's oftentimes not easy for people, not only not easy for them to understand out there in the ethers, but sometimes the potency isn't even on the bottle when you buy it, if you're buying it in the health food store. So work with an herbalist that knows what they're doing and can help you with the dosages. But that's what I would dose. That's a typical dose. If you were to do an encapsulation, you might, like I said, you might do like between 6 and 10 capsules of hawthorn leaf flower and berry every day. That's a lot of capsules. So
Right.
I think tea or tincture is better because you're going to get the medicine easier into your body.
Yeah, I agree. And I also would suggest if anyone wants to prepare a tincture, it's actually very simple. Um, um, it's not going to be as a professional as dear Sarah's, but you can do it in a simple way. You just get the hawthornberries. Just make sure that you buy hawthornberries that are from either from the local herbalist or from a good farm that make that are actually you getting hawthorns and not like a China seeding storage box.
Yeah, it smells like a dirty basement. Yeah.
That maybe Hawthorne already forgot that his name is Hawthorne because he was sitting so many years in the storage.
Right.
Also want to look at the color of the hawthorns. If you see that they're very pale, that's a big problem. You want to have a nice red, kind of darkish reddish color if they're dry. And also, I found in the Chinese stores that where they sell herbs, you can find hawthorns. They even sell them in a dry like plums. They sell them also like a dry plum, so you can buy those. Also important, if you already work with the hawthorns, then crush them before. It's very important because they have seeds and they're similar to kind of tiny cherries, I would say, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Crush them. Yeah, and that's why what Sarah said when she said when you make a tea, let it sit for some time, because as more you let it sit, that the hawthorns will more release their unique power into this beautiful liquid and will provide more healing. So I would not be afraid from hawthorns. The only thing that you have to be careful is that you're buying from the good source. So that's the most important thing that I would suggest. And we have a plenty good farms here in United States, thank God, that you can just you can call, you can ask them, and usually I provide on my Go Healthy chat, I do provide the names of some companies. But hey,
Right.
Sarah is making, and also on my Instagram page, you can find how to make your own. So this is about the hawthorn. Thank you so much. Hawthorn is amazing, right?
It's amazing. Yes. And my other, well, there's a lot of other herbs I could prattle off here, but
Bring it on.
what was that?
Bring it on.
Okay. So linden, another tree, coincidentally, is linden, and that's the Tilia species. Linden, we use the flower and what's called the samora or the bract. So it's like a little tongue and then the flower. And I love linden. Fresh linden is so wonderful to harvest. It smells lovely. The bees love it. Linden is often, the tree is found, we have it all over the place here in the Northeast. Many towns plant linden trees in cemeteries and in the municipalities. So it's interesting how many linden trees you'll see, and they'll bloom usually like June, end of June to very beginning of July. And you want to get them when the flowers have just opened. And there's nothing really like a fresh linden flower, just smelling it. I infuse it. I also infuse it in oils it's wonderful for sunburns. But the linden, you use that, you can use it in tea and tincture as well. That one is used as more of like a hypertensive, but it's also an anti-inflammatory. So it's really going to help with any kind of arterial sclerosis, what we call it, when the fat starts to build up in the artery walls. Wonderful for that. So linden flower, and the dosages would kind of be the same as hawthorn. It's very gentle. Linden is often used in the UK. They drink linden tea a lot, and it is relaxing. So you could drink it as a nighttime tea and just to help you go to sleep. Very gentle, safe for kids too. But I love it in formulations for hypertension. And I'd also be putting yarrow in there. So that's Achille millifolium. That's we talk about yarrow all the time
Right.
because it is a veritable medicine chest of it in and of itself. It's a circulatory tonic. It's an antimicrobial.
Yeah, that's
but it helps move the blood, and it helps with hypertension. So yarrow is also another one that I use. And red sage, that's a Chinese herb that I use specifically for circulation, for blood issues. That one, you could put it in tea. I do put it in teas. It tastes okay. Tinctures are great. So that one would be specifically I use for like AFib or someone who's more high risk. It's not really a tonic necessarily.
right.
So that one's more powerful. And you know what other one that I like? Have you heard of Romania before?
No.
Romania is another Chinese herb, and it looks like big, like squished dates, or it looks like it's very chewy. The way they process it, they dry it, and then they soak it. Well, traditionally
There's other name to it because
Romania root. No, that's its name.
okay.
There might be a common Chinese name, but I don't know that. I just call it Romania, and it's a wonderful blood tonic. So it actually looks like big old, like blood clots, like dried blood. It's very dark.
Seen it in a dragon herb store. I think I've seen it, but I don't.
And it's chewy. If it's really fresh, it's chewy. It dries over time, but and I use that one a ton for kidney issues, especially kidney heart stuff. It's a circulatory tonic. It's wonderful to move blood. And so that one's one of my favorites. I have a formulation right in front of me actually for AFib. But
Fire. See, that's why it's good that we're meeting and that.
yeah. Oh, and ginkgo. What am I saying? Yeah. I'll just say one more. Ginkgo.
Okay.
Ginkgo. Ginkgo is not just for memory. Ginkgo is a circulation herb. It's wonderful for reducing inflammation, especially the microcirculation. So ginkgo. And you could put all these in a nice little formulation for somebody with heart issues. But as you know, we pick herbs for the people too. And it's really nice to work with an herbalist, because then you get to find the herbs that work with your body the best and your constitution. And we can just formulate something specific for your needs. So, or at least suggest something.
Okay, good. So let me add few of the stuff that you probably people already know, and many already know. But I would add few other herbs, and I usually like to think exactly at that situation. If someone, what are the most necessary things you need to have at home? So the first time that usually people contact me when they have a high blood pressure. So in that case, sometimes I say valerian. It's something it's good to have on hand, because I found the valerian kind of helps to calm it down. And I found in Europe, valerian used a lot, and the people actually walk. I remember even my grandmother, she would not know many herbs, but she would have in her pocket always valerian, because she really suffer from heart high blood pressures. And so valerian is one of the herbs that I like, but it's not also individual for everyone. So let's say I myself get nauseous, so even when I smell the valerian root, it's not for me. So it's really individual herb. So but I would suggest in times of need that you should have. Another wonderful herb that we always speak about is the cayenne, and I know you've been keeping the cayenne for me.
Yeah, it's your plant there.
Someone live is very important because cayenne will act right away and quickly. So Sarah spoke about the herbs that are feeding and nourishing the heart, but I like to say like something quickly, straight. If there is a problem, how we deal with it. So the cayenne, the simple cayenne will save your life. So I usually suggest to have a cayenne in every place in your house, in your car, because you'll never know when you might need it. So the cayenne, can you put just few pinch on your tongue. Many people even don't know how to take it because it's very spicy. So I would say work your way up and start with a tiny amount and do not taking teaspoon. But obviously, if there is a problem, if you're someone who's going through something and they have a heart problem or they're getting into the heart attack, this is a number one remedy. And we're also going to show what else you can do physically to help the person, because it's not only what we put inside the mouth but also what we can do over our body. But cayenne is my favorite because it brings in circulation. And you remember in the beginning of the podcast when we spoke about the feet, the roots, and most people when they have a cold feet, that shows the lack of circulation. How do we bring the circulation? Well, there is a couple ways we can bring in circulation, but cayenne is one of those, especially if you live on the east side where you are, right? People are cold because it's cold in the snow, so they can put pinch of cayenne on in their socks, and they will bring in circulation, right? So the same will come to the heart, and that's what is my favorite. Another thing that it's a thing that I usually love to think is well, common foods with the garlic, right? The garlic is very good. Garlic removes the toxins, removes the plague. Garlic is very good, and garlic should be cooked. No, if you want to really get the garlic and the full power of a garlic as a medicine, you can make your own tincture, right, Sarah? And or you can make a garlic oil, which is also fine, but the preferred one is actually to have it raw. So if you can just squeeze it into the salad or in the soup before serving, and again, work your way, because for some people my fresh garlic will be too irritating, but then there is always way you can treat and get, teach your taste buds. There's always time, and give yourself time to learn how to take garlic, because many people will say, I'll never take garlic, it stinks, it's this, it's that. But the garlic is a medicine, and I feel it's very important, and people should try, to bring this amazing herb into their diet, to daily life. And next thing that I would say, for people who are suffering from heart problems, and because they take a lot of things closer to their heart. So I brought this one. I just had the roses are amazing.
Rose, oh yeah.
Right. So I was thinking about just to show people that even simple rose tea will calm your mind. If your heart is grieving, if you not feel comfortable, and actually one herbalist told me, Hava, just send them even an image of the roses and it will calm their hearts. And it's interesting, I was thinking about that, and it's like, why not? People should have roses around their house. The people should have rose tea because it will calm your heart. So that's what I would actually. Roses and hawthorn berries might work so nicely together.
Totally. You could do a hawthorn rose elixir. Honey, a little honey. Awesome.
Forget about the podcast. Let's make the tea with some delicious raw honey.
Well, that's another thing about the garlic too, is if people have issues with the pungency, you can put your garlic cloves in some honey, just cover them with honey and let them, sit there with the honey for a couple of weeks. And you see how that garlic will take on the honey. It gets a little translucent and it's so yummy. And a lot of that harshness of it will soften, and it's easier to take the raw that way. So
Right. Also, black garlic, which is
Oh
a
yeah.
the fermented garlic. It's delicious. I love it. I actually made a video when I was eating. The whole my teeth was. It was, but it's so delicious. Like it has this caramelized flavor, and you apply this on the bread or in the soup. It's so good.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, see, people, don't give up. I mean, there's so many ways you can implement these wonderful herbs. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
we get so much for people. It's incredible. Now let's speak other things. What other things you would suggest, Sam?
For herbs?
For herbs, or if there's any other minerals that you would like. I let's say I would suggest salt. Salt is good because you said something very important. Most people have an issue. They do not have enough digestive enzyme, or they have a problem with hydrochloric acid where the food cannot break down correctly. So the very famous Russian doctor, he's a professor. He passed away at over age 90 and something, but he said the salt is one of the most important things. And he suggested that that's the issue, is that when we eat, we do not digest enough food. We do not digest food correctly, then it becomes toxic and becomes blockages. And oh, even my cat came to say hello.
I think your cat wants some salt.
That the people actually should consume more salt, and he suggested that people even should just take a few flakes, put it on your tongue. When you have a fruit, put a little bit salt. When you even he suggested when you have a melon, put just a little bit salt on your melon. The same he suggested to any fruit, and obviously vegetables. And he said that will bring more digestive, and it will create a good hydrochloric acid to process the food, and it's very important. And I think it's also important for the heart health.
Absolutely. Well, that mineral balance is really important. And I guess there's numerous herbs, but really to help people out there who can't always get all the herbs, we're just going to go back to diet. So I would say I always like to use like what we call the doctrine of signatures, in herbalism, is like eat red food, things that build the blood, things like pomegranate and strawberries and beets.
Love it. Amazing.
Yeah. So beets are a superfood. Sorry, but they are. And a lot of people don't like them, but they are so good for you. Beets help thin the bile, beets help with digestion, beets, they're loaded with minerals and build the blood. And I also say, stop being afraid of fat. I think we finally have turned a corner in this country. Finally. And it wasn't because of RFK and all that stuff. I think I saw the turning a little bit sooner than that. It's like finally people understand that way back when they had a choice between sugar and fat, what are we going to vilify for heart issues? And they chose the fat because they could make a drug to stop the cholesterol from being formed in your body, aka that's what statins do. But reduce your sugar, and don't be afraid of fat. And it's not that you have to sit down and eat a bowl of saturated fat every day, but use it in your cooking. I use tallow now. I've rendered my own fat. We got a half a cow and I rendered the tallow and I use it for cooking. I actually made a body cream for the shop with it. So it's not just good for the inside, it's good for the outside. But don't be afraid of fat, because fat is very anti-inflammatory. And we have to remember that the fat that's in the body that causes the problem is an oxidized fat. And oxidized fats are the ones that will kind of hang out in the blood for too long. And to reduce that, you want to get good non-rancid fats in your body, which means don't buy vegetable oil in a clear container. Dump any of those veggie canola oils. Don't use them. They're terrible for you. Buy a good olive oil if you want to, the grapeseed oil, the liquid oils. Buy them in a can, or a tinted glass. Don't buy them in clear plastic. But get, coconut oil saturated. Get your beef tallow saturated. Get some lard. Have a bunch of different options and diversify your fats, because they're really, really good for you. They're very anti-inflammatory. They're heart healthy. And the one thing you can do is stop eating refined sugar. Use maple syrup instead of sugar in your coffee. Use honey in your tea instead of sugar. And I get it. You want a cookie every once in a while, fine, but it can't be an everyday thing. So
But
control the sugar. You're going to control the insulin. You're going to control the inflammation. And just watch what you're eating, you know. And sometimes food isn't an everyday food, and it's hard for people to change their diets. But you know, sometimes even an herbalist doesn't want to put something else in your body. We want you to think about what goes in the big when you're, you know, what goes in your gullet, what goes in your mouth counts every day, because there's no herb that's going to counteract the crap that you keep putting in your body. It
exactly.
just isn't.
Don't think if you can get the most delicious and a wonderful combination of herbs, but you continue eating the junky food, then nothing gonna happen. That's what I'm saying. Like on the
Yeah.
south, because many times people come and they get the best solution, and then they go home and they're good for I would say a couple months, and then they slide off back. Well, I understand, but the idea is that once you slide off back, then at least go back. But the problem is that many people then call me again and they will tell me, listen, but I've done it. Yes, and now the problem came back. Well, the problem came back is because now you're no longer doing what you were supposed to do, or you didn't did for enough time. And the problem, and what people would usually say, yes, I forgot about this. So simple, what do you do? And they say like, oh, I forgot. Oh, so you forgot herbs you were supposed to do. You forgot like simple things that you should do. Then I cannot help. And sometimes people like, it's they feel like we need to provide them with something, when in reality the whole entire healing begins within you.
Right.
We can just guide you, but in reality healing is inside of you. You have all the tools that you need. The hawthorn will work, but it will work with you in combination. If you open your heart, you open your hands, and you'll say, yes, please help me, because see, I'm trying to do, then the hawthorns will open themselves. And the same actually will comes to I hear a lot with, when I speak with Natasha, the mother of probiotics, she tells, I can give you the best probiotics, but if you're angry, or if you're like, you have stress, then the bacteria will say, we're not willing to live in this environment. I will they just leave. And that's why it's so important to understand everything needs this blessing. You need to open your really heart to accept all those stuff, because otherwise nothing going to happen. There will be no change.
Right.
Okay, so, and I would like to add, I love that you spoke about fruits and veggies. You added so much to the conversation. Thank you. I was thinking now, would add few things that I would suggest what are the very important. And as when we mentioned the heart is the king, there was two areas that I want people to clap every single day, and that's actually will teach them how their heart health is in reality is. And the best area to clap, and I always about clapping, it's very important, please, it's gonna save your life. I have a whole book how the clapping can save someone's life, and I work with Master Chow and Master Kamen and people who really truly see miracles. So we spoke about the cayenne if somebody goes into the heart attack, but you can also help just by clapping over this heart and lung meridians. See, heart and lung are both combined, and they will open up your heart. So if you just learn from everything that we spoke today, one thing, just learn clap. As more you clap, the more circulation you will send toward your heart, and you can regenerate your heart just by clapping every single day. Now, many people tell me, Hava, I clap. And I said, okay, you clap. How long do you go? 5 minutes. That's not going to do anything. 5 minutes, it's nothing. You really have to clap 20 minutes or more and the one same area. And what will happen with the time, as more you clap, the area will become very red, and there will actually might be bruises, and actually will be even black dots, and many it just will show you the stagnation that's in your heart. It's very
Interesting.
important, and it's very important because if I would, the only thing the Master Chow spoke with me, he said, Chava, the only thing I want you to tell to people, just clap over these two areas. If they're going to clap here, their heart, they'll never die from heart attack. So it's very important that I really pass this knowledge to all of you. Clap over here. You're going to save someone's life.
So for the people who are audio only, why don't you explain where that area is?
So it's the inner elbow. Inner elbow. It's exactly on the, when we fold our hand, is in the inner elbow right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you love it that you mentioned. Okay, so you just clap it and clap. Please start with a 5-15 minutes. And many people, what I found the best is when you have a relatives around you or you have friends near you, instead like sitting and just sliding finger with your phone, just everyone, let's just clap, and you just start, all of you sit and clap, because
I love it.
you will actually will bring a healing to everyone around you. Everyone will now shift to speaking about the heart health, and it's amazing because you might see a beautiful healing, so it's really nice. So that's another thing. Then I would suggest a massage and clapping and all over the area. And most people, we're sitting all day long. So, and also, what I found, many people, they don't feel motivated to do any exercise. It's like, okay, I have to go to gym, which is, I don't really like IHSA gym, because in gym you smell everyone's sweat, and it's like, and so many bacteria. I just even cannot bring myself to do. But I found, if you can just get a trampoline and start jumping, and just do fun things, even dancing, put the music and start dancing, that already brings in circulation and so much thing. And do breathing, it's very important. And then I also would say, actually, walking in nature, if you can, very important. But when you walk, you actually want this movement, you want this part moving, so that way your lungs will open up and you start breathing better. And because breathing is also connected obviously to the heart. Is we breathe shallow breathers, and then we suddenly have something exciting. Oh, that's why, I know this poor story of one guy who married his daughter, and exactly in the wedding he passed away from heart attack. He was an amazing person. I knew him. He was a skin doctor. He was such a dermatologist. He was such a sweetheart, and he married his daughter, and in the middle of the dance, everyone is dancing, he had a heart attack.
Oh.
And it is so sad. And I know the widow, and it's so sad. And I'm like, this is such a traumatic experience, But why is that happen? Well, because probably he was not breathing, and then enough, very shallow breathers, yeah, and too much excitement and too much toxicity, and then dancing caused all this stagnation to move, and the person had a heart attack. So very sad. So that's why it's very important. Movement is very important. Yeah, so you want to speak about some energetics, and we're going to finish here?
Yeah. So, well, the heart is, if people understand the chakra system, the heart is our seat, that energy center of love. And it really signifies how we love ourselves and how we express love. I see a lot of like resentment lives there, betrayal can live there, but joy can live there, and our need to help others can live there. And so there's a lot of energy around the heart, and they say that you can sense someone's heart energy from long distances away. There's so much electricity in the heart. And so that's kind of how we look at it energetically. It's about love. And it seems kind of, well, yeah, doy, it's about love. But there's a lot to be said. Love comes from that, but there's also that restrictive piece of love, because we're not taught to really love ourselves, right? Because that's considered vain and that's considered selfish. But there has to be a balance between how we love others and how we love ourselves. And when there's an imbalance, that's where we can see the physical manifestation of heart issues. And I just think it's interesting that men suffer a lot more than women, although women are coming up really close now. We can't ignore the physical aspects of our modern world, but we also cannot ignore the energetic aspects of, you know, this day and age, right, where we have so much information and so much connectivity, but we've never been more disconnected, I think. And we need other people. We need that aspect in our lives. And when we close ourselves off or we're not able to find that connection, we can suffer. So that's the energetics and things that you can help energetically with the heart. So the heart chakra is resonates to the color green. So you can wear green, you can use green stones. Malachite is a wonderful stone for the heart. Fluorite, bloodstone. I love malachite as protection for the heart. But any green stone is wonderful. Put it on your altar, put it in your pockets. It matters. It really does. You can use essential oil blends for the heart chakra. You can get Reiki sessions for the heart chakra. And so, I mean, those are the things you can do. You can do flower essences as well. And I love hawthorn flower essence for that.
Yeah.
And that's going to help us either allow love into our lives or help us find balance with love.
It's beautiful, very beautifully said, very beautifully. I love it. Okay, so I think we gave pretty a pretty nice amount of different suggestions from
Yeah.
from dietary wise and from understanding yourself, how you can help yourself. I think it's really nice. And do we have any questions? Does everyone have any questions? If you do, you can write this in the comments so that way we can answer. And if you haven't, we give you a few, and not yet, but we have a few people who joined us. It's very nice. And if they have any questions, they're welcome. We'll give you more minutes. But
And if people have questions, you know, if they find the video after, then put them in the comment section and
it's also
we'll get to them
on our YouTube channel, and also will be posted on our podcast. And so yeah, on a Spotify. So that way I don't forget. Last time, like, what? I forgot the name. It's sitting here, but I'm like, I forgot the name. So it's so beautiful, and the beauty is that the power to heal is really yours. You just have to now try to take everything that we just laid out so beautifully and try to get connected with yourself, and don't think that we are damaged in a certain way, because many times we learn this from modern medicine, is to look at ourselves like there's something always wrong with us. There's something that we are all the time sick, or we born in a certain way that we are I'm sorry, but the God didn't know what he created, and he made so many mistakes down the way, so we need to kind of fix it. And it's sometimes it's even laughable. And the best thing that I want to say, really trust yourself, really trust your body, know yourself, listen yourself. This is how the healing will start. This is one of the most important things. And being honest, that's another thing that we all working, we all human beings. Like, many people expect someone in the healing business to be perfect. That's irrelevant. That's not true. If I would be perfect, I would be already in a different place. I would be an angel flying, but I am exactly this.
You wouldn't be a human.
I'm exactly like everyone else. I have a struggles not different than anyone else. Sometimes people are like, oh, but you are this. No, I'm no different. Yes, I know certain things because I'm more aware. But the beauty is that that's what we're trying to give it to you, to pass it to you, so that way you will also have the tools. And the idea of this podcast is heal yourself naturally. Use every simple tools we have before jumping into harsh medicine, because once you in this cycle of this harsh modern medicine, it's so hard to really, slowly remove yourself from there, because you're like already into this machine, you're like part of them. And sometimes I have people who will text me when they're on like 3 or 4 or 5 different medications, and they're suffering, and now they want to do the change. And sometimes it's so hard, because specifically when we're dealing with the heart medications, right, we cannot just tell them, oh, throw this into the garbage and just now do apply what you need to do, because in certain things the damage are so further, and those medications are cause so much troubles that we cannot, even as a healers, cannot do anything. And that requires slowly unload, step by step, reducing the amounts, and that's a real work. But we cannot do it if you are not the one who's trying to heal yourself. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I just want to mention too, beautifully said, Hava, but I want to mention too that, imbalances happen in our human story, and it's part of our journey. And find the teacher in it. It's presenting itself for a reason, and find the teacher in it. Where is this imbalance? What part of your body is it? Is it your heart? Is it your lungs? Is it your feet? Is it wherever it is? There's a message there for you. Sometimes the message is not as easily deciphered, but it's there. So find the teacher, enjoy the journey, embrace the journey, and find balance in that.
Amazing. So we will be going live again when? Probably in like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, we said monthly, but I don't really, I think every, we can talk about it after, but at least maybe at least the first Wednesday of every month.
Right.
Let's do that.
Amazing. So thank you everyone who joined us, and looking forward. And please share this video with your loved ones. It might help someone. You never know. I created one video once about the cayenne, and the girl was listening. Her father actually was having a heart attack, and she was able to save his life. And so this is crucial information, and we are all very experienced in this field, been doing this for such a long time. So that's why we really combine together the both knowledge. And thank you so much, everyone, and
thank you.
And beautiful holiday. Who's having today is a Passover, and there is also Pascha, right, for you guys, Eastern coming very soon.
Easter,
yeah. So everyone, happy holidays. Holidays is amazing time of awakening, actually. That's what I would put in a certain way. But okay, everyone, bye.
Bye. Thank you, Hava.
Bye, everyone. Bye.